Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel, and more importantly, welcome to the very first episode of MonoLOGUES, a podcast where I take 30 minutes out of my day to talk about whatever is on my mind. Today's episode is going to focus on creative flow, and by that I more specifically mean the creative process, how I go about handling that, and then how I apply that to my own work in regards to the YouTube channel, and more specifically my ambitions and my goals, what I want to do with my life outside of YouTube, outside of school, outside of work. Basically the reason why I wake up in the morning. But before I get into that, I do want to take some time to talk about why I decided to do this, and more specifically give a general outline of the channel this year and what I hope to accomplish. The biggest reason why I wanted to start adding new series and shows to the channel was because I set out to hit 1,000 subscribers last year, and I did not do that. Now, granted, I'm not complaining or anything. We did hit, I think, about 350 subscribers gained, which is pretty big. That's not a small amount of people. 300 people, imagine that many in a room or something like that, That's a lot of people. So it's not a small feat or anything like that. I am proud of that, and I am glad that we made that growth, but I did set out to meet a goal, to reach a goal, and I didn't meet it. And so that sort of caused me to, reflect on how I handled the channel last year, and then how that affected my growth. And I came to realize I didn't upload that much. And by that, I mean, I didn't upload actual videos that much. I uploaded a lot in terms of streams and whatnot, but in terms of what I really focus on, that being the episodes of Decryption, I only uploaded, I think, 6 episodes of that. No, 5. I only uploaded 5 because the Smash video I think came out the year before. So I only uploaded 5 videos last year. And obviously uploading that little is not very good for your channel in terms of growth and how the algorithm processes your content. So I figured, why not come up with new creative ways to give people meaningful content while having it at the same time be very easy for me to put out there. You know what I mean? I don't want to sacrifice production value on things like Decryption and whatnot. So if I wanted to bring on other things, I needed to set it up in a way where it had a bunch of value as content, but it didn't take so much energy and deliberation and time in order for me to produce an episode of that series. Decryption, a lot goes into that in terms of writing the script and then editing the video, but more importantly, conceptualizing an episode, coming up with something that seems interesting to watch, whether you're a fan of whatever it is I'm discussing or someone who's just interested in whatever it is I'm talking about, say with the arms and the world building, right? I write those videos so that you can enjoy those regardless of whether or not you're a fan of ARMS or if you know what that is already. I try to give people as much context and background information so that they can fully understand what it is I'm saying and digest it in a meaningful way. So it's not just oh, this dude's talking about world building, how interesting, you know what I mean? That was cool, but I had no clue what he was saying, you know what I mean? It's more of a thing of okay, I didn't know about that. Now I do, and I feel a little smarter. I feel a little more knowledgeable. I have some insight on something that I didn't really know was a thing before. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I go about scripting and producing all of the episodes of Decryption. This is more so of a relaxed thing where I can just talk, I do a lot of talking in real life. Ask anyone who knows me. There are just these times where I am asked a question or someone says something and it just sort of sparks this streak in this insane amount of impassioned speech or whatever from me. I don't think that made sense. That was a very uncohesive string of words right there, but I think you get what I'm saying, I can talk about something for hours on end, and I have these little moments where I do that in real life, so I figured, why not take that and sort of work to my strengths a little bit and just do something that, can keep people invested, but it's not something that you are going out of your way to do. You know what I mean? I do this normally in Discord calls, in real life, so why not just record it sometimes and then put it on the internet? You have something to say, right? So why not say it? People are willing to listen just so long as you have something meaningful to say. And I do think most of the time I have something meaningful to say. So that's where monologues came from. I was doing it a little bit before. Like, you can actually check out some old episodes of this little monologues thing, but that was before I really conceptualized it into something concrete and marketable. You know what I mean? Now monologues is kind of its own branded series on the channel. You know what I mean? So it has a little bit more production value and legitimacy there. Before, it was legit me just talking, rambling about nonsensical bullshit for 5 minutes, and then I would put it on top of a JPEG and then upload it. And granted, those videos were really fun to make, but again, I do very much so value production quality. I like all of my stuff to be very flashy and just well put together. You know what I mean? I just don't like putting half-ass shit out there, which is the reason why monologues didn't continue for that long. And that's the reason why I'm totally overhauling the way I do streaming and whatnot. So that's what I needed to update you guys all on in regards to the channel and why specifically I'm doing monologues. The next thing would obviously be me talking about this whole creative flow thing. I have been very invested in figuring out my own creative process and how I handle creativity recently, just because I want to be better I want to get better at creating things. You know what I mean? There's a lot of skills that I want to learn and a lot that I want to put myself into, but in general, I haven't properly, I guess handled the way I go about doing those things. You know what I mean? Let's take Decryption, for example, right? I only got 5 episodes of that show out last year, but I could have easily done more if I had a concrete process. More often than not, I would just wait until something hit me, and then once it hit me, I would make a video on it. Obviously, there were games and series and whatnot and stuff like that I wanted to talk about in general. And in regards to that, I would more so specifically find something that I could talk about and then hone in on that specific property, right? So take like the Sonic Identity video. And when I made that, I wanted to talk about Sonic. And so I honed in on something that I had to talk about, which was specifically the identity and the whole attitude thing and whatnot, and then I talked about it. Same thing with that Steven Universe Future video. I did want to talk about Future, but I did not want to make a full-blown review of it, just because I knew already it was going to be a thing where I was just like, hey, Steven Universe Future is not that good. It's pretty bad. And if you already know what the takeaway and the lesson of a video is going to be, I don't see any real reason in, writing that, you know what I mean? Because that whole end section, right, where I leave you with a message and I'm like, take this away from the video, that's like a payoff, and in order for me to get to that, I need to write at least 10 minutes of content to correlate with it. If the payoff is that minimal, I don't see any good reason for me to continue with that. You know what I mean? If anything, it would be more worth my time to put out a tweet or some shit like that and then have that be it. Maybe talk about it on a stream or something, say, hey, this is what I thought of Future, and that's about all I'm going to say. So I figured that with that video, what I should do is come up with something more meaningful to discuss so that I have a reason to get that opinion out there that I don't enjoy Steven Universe Future. I think it's a pretty bad show. But I also can talk about something meaningful that can leave an impact on people. And, again, it's all about teaching people things that they didn't know before, I guess. I hope that doesn't sound pretentious, but, I'm very passionate about the things that I'm into. And I love just breaking it down and explaining it to people. You know what I mean? It's just, there's nothing like just like having that flash, that spark where someone asks about something that means a lot to you, and then you just get the chance to break it down and explain to them why it's so cool. You know what I mean? I do that all the time with Sonic. I just recently did that with Monster Hunter when I was speaking to someone. Just being given those opportunities to talk about stuff like that, I love it. That's what I look forward to, honestly, in day-to-day conversations. So, Decryption is something that means a lot to me because it gives me a medium and an outlet to do that on my own accord, whenever I want to. I don't have to wait for someone to introduce it or, bring up the idea or some shit like that. I'm just like, hey, this is cool. And I wanted to talk about it. You can watch it if you want to. If not, oh well. But it is what it is, and more often than not, people enjoy it, I'm so glad that Decryption has been doing better as a series. And that's just why I wanted to overhaul it and stuff like that, just so I can do more with it. So I guess let me get into the creative flow thing. Let's try and hone back in on that specifically. So the creative flow, the way I look at it is more so how fluid your process is. You know what I mean? Everyone has their own unique way of going about creating things. Flow is when you get to that point where you know your process and you know yourself so well in terms of how you operate, how you come up with ideas, all that type of stuff. And you just go. You hit the ground running, and there are no, bumps in the road or anything like that. Everything goes off without a hitch. That's very hard to reach. It's a point that took me I think 3 years to get to. I had an entire YouTube channel back in 2017 where I kind of just did stuff on. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was just having fun with it. And as time went on, I came to realize that I wanted to do more than just have fun with it. I wanted to really put myself into it and do something that required a little bit more deliberation on my end. You know what I mean? At that point, right, all I was doing was talking about Sonic news and stuff like that. And then I would compile my commentary into a video on top of gameplay and then upload that. You know what I mean? I was kind of like a pseudo news channel in a way. And that was fine and all, but again, after a while, I wanted to do a lot more. And once I recognized that, then I started being a little bit more critical on my work. And I think this is the first step towards actually reaching that flow state, is getting to a point where you can criticize yourself. A point that I've gotten to, and this is something that I think you all need to avoid, is becoming overly critical. All right, I fucked up my words there. I am now at a point where it's very hard for me to distinguish the quality of my own work without having at least one outside opinion. You know what I mean? If I'm working on a logo or a thumbnail or something like that, I need to ask at least one person to know if I'm going in the right direction. And at that point, it's much easier for me to just do what I gotta do and do my own thing and whatnot. But again, it's getting over that first hurdle of, I don't even know if this is the right direction. I need some type of validation and affirmation that, yes, you're on the right track, Khalifa. Keep going on that way. By the way, I'm not going to call myself Mono during this. I do it as a joke sometimes because it's fucking hilarious. Mono, why are you Mono? It's fucking hilarious, but it's also weird for me to constantly be referring to myself as Mono. My name is Khalifa. Oh, MonoCRYPTIC just doxed himself. He just doxed himself. What the fuck, dude? Mono, why would you do that? Yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to be referring to myself as Khalifa in this. I shouldn't even be referring to myself in the third person to begin with, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, again, once I get past that first hurdle, it's really easy for me to just go and hit the ground running. But I do that with everything. I do that with the scripts. I do that with the thumbnails. I even do it with the concept itself. I ask someone, would you watch a video that would focus on breaking down this, using this as an example? You know what I mean? More often than not, people are intrigued and they think it's a good concept, especially considering the fact that more often than not, I do have considerable amounts of insight to offer on whatever it is I'm talking about. But again, that's something that I think you do need to avoid, being overly critical. Be willing to recognize that while you may not be skilled or as skilled as you want to be at something starting out, you're still growing and you're still learning. You know what I mean? You haven't reached your peak yet. You know what I mean? And you're never going to reach your peak. Life is a lifelong life is a lifelong learning experience. Jesus, life is a learning experience. You never stop learning. You never stop growing, and I think that's something that you need to understand, especially as a creative. I feel like I put a lot of pressure on myself as a creator to get to a point where my shit is profitable, and people are willing to give me money to do the things that I want to do. And that's not because I want to, live easy off YouTube or some shit like that. You know what I mean? My plan in life, my concrete plan and my goals aren't to be a YouTuber, you know what I mean? Really, I just see how I look at YouTube is I see it as a really useful medium for me to show people what I'm capable of and then learn and get that experience so that once I'm past that point, I can do the shit for real. I can start making my own shit. You know what I mean? I tell a lot of people that my YouTube channel is kind of like my portfolio. It's reflective of not only who I am as a person, but what I'm able to put out from a creative perspective. And it's a very clear sort of example, I guess. It's a very clear sort of fucking glimpse into my understanding of what it is I'm talking about, because I do think I have a very good understanding of writing, what goes into telling a good story, like, you know, good character writing, good dialogue, all that stuff. You know what I mean? This is my way to back up my bark. You know what I mean? I don't want to just say I'm good at this shit and then not have anything to back it up. I don't have a novel published yet. I'm working on it right now, but I don't have anything like significant or tangible to my name yet, aside from the YouTube channel. So, you know, if I want to tell someone I have a good understanding of writing, or I like writing and whatnot, I just show them the YouTube channel, because that's like again, a portfolio and like a glimpse into who I am as a person and as a creative. And that's another part of the creative flow, of achieving creative flow, is understanding how to be creative while improving. You know what I mean? A lot of the changes that I made to the channel and to the, like, you know, the introduction of these new series, and the changes that I'm making more specifically to streaming and decryption, I did with the intention of challenging myself as a creative, you know, putting myself in situations where I have to think differently and I have to learn different techniques so that I can make a video exactly the way that I want to. I've been doing that a lot with the episodes from last year, but now I'm going in heavy with that shit. Just because, again, I want to push myself to be the best that I possibly can be. And I feel like you can only make it as a creative if you gain the ability to be able to make that growth, significant growth, by the way, while also being productive and doing something that benefits you in the now. You know what I mean? If I were to completely shut down and halt production on everything on the channel and just, you know, study up on, like, you know, how to sketch, anatomy, all that type of stuff, how to edit and all that stuff, you know what I mean? I would be making progress, but, you know, I would get to a point where I'm really talented at this shit, but, like, you know, I don't have an audience. I don't have any of that. And at that point, it may be way too late for me to pursue this as a career. You know what I mean? I may be past my prime. People might not be listening anymore. And it would be much harder for me to sell myself. You know what I mean? Doing it the way I'm doing it now, I'm not only introducing myself to people, to the public, the general public, like the internet, in increments, right? But more importantly, I'm growing so that by the time I reach the point where I feel like I have a concrete understanding of not only writing, but of art, of production, of shows and all that shit like that, I can just start my own thing, and I can be like, hey guys, I don't want to be a critic anymore. I don't want to discuss this. I don't want to break this down anymore. I'm over that shit. I just want to make my own thing. Here's my idea. Here's what I have done so far, and here's what I need from you, you know, and then I can go from there. And I think it's a foolproof plan, so long as I stick to it. The only liability in this plan, as it is me, myself, whether or not I'm able to hold myself to the standards that I'm setting, and whether or not I'm able to look at myself critically. I do get to a point where I get kind of big-headed. I'm an intelligent, well-spoken person. I'm not, you know, afraid or ashamed to say that. It's the truth. So there are a lot of times where I look at what I'm able to do now and I'm just like, dude, you got this. There's no way you're going to fail. But there are a lot of things that I cannot account for, both internally and externally, that I need to start being aware of, you know what I mean? Making note of, so that I don't end up fucking things up for myself later on down the road. You know, this is something that I desperately want to do. Again, like I said before, I wake up in the morning to be a creative. I love making stuff. You know, the reason why I am so adamant on hitting 1K, and getting to a point where these videos are profitable is because at that point I can start investing more into my channel because I'm getting more out of it. And all that does is that enables me to be a creative as a living, you know what I mean? And that's fucking awesome. I'm you know, yearning for that right now. I desperately want that right now. Just to be in a position where I can just create shit and interact and engage with a community who's not only invested in me as a person, but in my art and what I put out there, you know, and vice versa. People who I can get invested in, people who I can have a conversation with and you know, discuss and hash all this shit out with, you know what I mean? Actually, like, you know, I'm actually retooling streams in a way to involve you guys more, and there's gonna be some more info on that later on down the road, probably next month when all of the issues and the kinks and stuff are fully worked out with that specifically. But that's going to be really fun too. And I cannot wait for, you know, the first time I can, you know, start unveiling and rolling out all this shit. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think the biggest thing with creative flow is getting to know yourself as an individual and as a creative. You know what I mean? Be willing to look at yourself from as objective as a lens as you can possibly get. You know, it's very hard for us to be able to do that, especially as an individual. Like, there's so much, like, there's so much internal bias, towards, like, against and for yourself that makes it hard for you to look at you as a person. But trust me, when you get to the point where you can just stop and take a look at who you are right now, and then really gauge whether or not the decisions you're making are worthwhile and beneficial to you as an individual. When you get to that point, the growth will be immense, and you will improve so much, not only as a creative, but just as a person in general. On that note, improvement is something that has to come after burnout. Burnout is something I think everyone who has done art is familiar with. Basically, when you get into that rut and that funk and you're like, I don't know if I can do this, all my ideas are terrible, blah, 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 blah. The best way to deal with burnout is to remind yourself of what you're good at, you know what I mean? To be grateful, showing gratitude, internally and externally. An exercise I do is just that, If I get to a point where I'm a little bit too self-critical, I'm down in the dumps, I'm like, I hate my life, this is so, terrible, oh my God, mono, you know what I mean? I take a moment, and I'm like, okay, take a deep breath. Is this as bad as you think it is? You know what I mean? Is your life as shitty as you think it is, That objective, criticism that I was talking about earlier. I just go out and I go down a list. I make a list of things that I have to be grateful for internally and externally. And then more importantly, I surround myself with shit that I'm passionate about. As much as I, shit on Sonic and whatnot, I have to be 100% honest. Out of everything that I've experienced in my entire life, Sonic the Hedgehog has had the most profound effect on me as an individual. I don't think I would be a creative. I don't think I would want to do all of the things that I want to do if it was not for Sonic the Hedgehog. Just in terms of the character, the games, the atmosphere, the art direction, the sound direction, all of it has had such a profound and meaningful, like, significant effect on who I am as an individual. And it all came at a time when I really needed it, that it's irrefutable for me to deny that I'm going to be a Sonic fan and I'm going to be keeping up with this shit for my entire life. I tried to give it up and I couldn't do it, And the reason I bring that up is that whenever I'm in a funk, what I do is I just play a Sonic game, It helps me de-stress. I listen to a cheesy, corny Sonic song because they're very uplifting. Like, if you ever, listen to the lyrics in a Sonic song, half of the shit they say is very uplifting, just about living your life the way you want to, reaching for the highest possible fucking, I guess, let me just say reach for the stars is the name of the song. You know what I'm talking about. And just being the best you, not inhibiting you, you know what I mean? Living up to you and giving yourself what you deserve, affording yourself what you, are owed. And that always lifts my spirits and makes me want to engage in creativity again, those are my two things for dealing with burnout. Remind yourself of what you have to be grateful for. Try and be as objective about it as you possibly can, and then surround yourself with things you're passionate about, whether that's, fucking music, movies, art, or even if that's a person, like people in your life, you know what I mean? Talk to them, call someone up, say, what's up, bro? Can we talk? Can we chill? You know what I mean? Some shit like that. And that's definitely, my biggest advice for that. And again, the improvement comes afterward, because once you do that, your head is clear and you're able to look at your shit critically and you can just get back into it, and the improvement just comes from that naturally. I guess I can end this monologue off with some words of encouragement. You got this, you know what I mean? Being a creative is hard. It's very hard because you're putting a part of yourself that would typically be seen as a vulnerable side of a person in terms of a non-creative. You're putting that out into the world, you know what I mean? And you're opening yourself up to people who might not like your ideas, people who might not like the way you draw or the way you sing or the way you write or anything like that. And that's just a part. That's a condition. That's a part of the artist condition. You know what I mean? You're setting when you put yourself out there, you're setting yourself up to be knocked down a little bit. But what's most important is being able to pick yourself back up and then go back at it. You know what I mean? just continue moving forward with the same amount of passion and vigor and just determination that you had before. I would not be where I'm at today in terms of like, my creativity and my work and whatnot if I didn't keep at it. You know what I mean? There was a point where I was a fucking terrible writer and I thought I was really good, but then someone, set me up and knocked me down. Or I set myself up and someone else knocked me down. And it is what it is. That's just a part of being creative. But honestly, I think that's really all that I had to say on this. Again, you got this 100%. Being creative is hard, but stick with it. Art is supposed to be fun. You're supposed to love art. And you started it for a reason. You know what I mean? This is something you want to do. And more importantly, it's something you're passionate about. So make sure you don't waste that. Don't squander your career before it even starts. Don't waste any potential you have. Just create. Keep on creating, guys. Anyways, that is all for today. Like the video if you liked the video. Dislike it if you didn't. Comment down below letting me know any of your thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, whatever. The links to my social media will be in the description below. You've got my Insta, my Twitter, and more importantly, my Discord server. If you want to have a one-on-one, more intimate conversation with me, be sure to join that and subscribe for more monologues. This is going to be a really good year for the channel. I have so much planned and I cannot wait to show you guys more. That's all for today. Thanks for watching and take care.